Well, welcome back. It's been some time, but we're both together here on the A League Couch Critics. I'm Brad. I'm joined by Sog. Sog, it's been quite some time. I think our last video was when we went to New Zealand, so it's been some time. How have we been going?
Yeah. Most people who are new subscribers to the Couch Critics don't even know that I exist. So here I am, just sitting in the background, doing well. How you, Brad?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited, obviously, for the thing we want to talk about, the Australian Championship. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. Um, big change coming to the Australian football calendar that I think we're both pretty excited about. Um, But yeah, long story short, yes, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Anyway, how about we go into it? Tell me, Samuel. Let's just go. I just want to ask you, what's the number one thing that excites you about the Australian Championship?
Look, I think the thing that really excites me about the Oz Championship is just we're finally doing something. We've talked and waxed lyrical as football fans for quite some time since the introduction of the A League, and I know the A League hasn't appeased everybody. And it's had its ups and its downs, but we've always wanted to see some kind of progression in Australian football and start some kind of movement towards a second division. And it's not perfect. It's not the league, the massive home and away season that we all dreamed of, and there's no promotion relegation just yet. But actually, just we're trying something. We're gonna give it a crack, see how it goes, assess it after a season, keep building. So I think that's what excites me. It's just like um, that first step, and we've got some awesome teams lining up, and seeing them kind of face off against each other is just going to be really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think what I'm the most excited about is that we have another quality level football league to watch in Australia. I know we've had the A League and we've kind of had the NPL, but I think there's been a bit of a decent sized gap between the two comps, or maybe it's shrinking considering how well Heidelberg's done in the Australia Cup. Um, but I think just trying to bridge that gap to try and find that middle ground between the semi pro and the professional in the A League, I think it's a good way to test the market. And also, I'm really keen to see how well these clubs get supported by the fans and people watching on the TV as well. Um, I'm just super keen to have another competition on at the same time as the A League, and hopefully get to a few new
Yeah,
grounds.
yeah, it'd be fantastic to get, particularly at some of the smaller grounds. I imagine Bayswater, they had a really good turnout for their Australia Cup. If they could, in each of their home games, actually get a decent crowd, 2,000 people, consistently, not just for the first game. When we've seen these kind of teams when it's the Australia Cup and an A League team comes to town, people show up and it's shown there's that kind of interest. But if they can show it consistently, Mark only get 5,000,
Mm.
for all three of their home games, sweet. Like you go, yeah, there's actually something here. And so I'm keen to see communities kind of get behind their teams and give it a crack.
I think when you
Yeah.
mentioned there, the Australia Cup was actually Olympic Kingsway, but still the fact that Olympic Kingsway got like 3,000 to play Melbourne Victory, I still think that's pretty awesome. If Bayer's Water can get even half of that, I still think that's a pretty great achievement.
Yeah, and then your big dogs like your Marconi, your South, you know, Sydney United, Sydney Olympic,
Mm.
they really should it's time for them. Yes, again, it's not uh, what exactly what they wanted when we started this kind of idea, but um, they've got three home games like to really get that support and it'd be just there's a buzz. There's a buzz, and so that's exciting. Yeah.
Sticking on all that talk about like how many fans we get at a game. I posted a question on my Twitter account for the crowds. What do you think would be like a pretty good pass mark in terms of overall average attendance for the season? When I posted on Twitter, I said, "Oh no, I think about 2,000. If we get about an average of 2,000 across the entire season, I think that'd be a pretty good achievement." What do you reckon?
Yeah, look, there's each team gets three home games, right? So
Yeah, at least three, and then we move
that
to the final, the knockouts.
I think, and it's over a month.
Mm,
Hopefully, good weather. We're in spring,
mm.
no, October into November. I think realistically, if we can see, I would be even more ambitious.
Yeah,
I
okay.
reckon, 3 to 5
Okay.
thousand as an average, because I think, South Melbourne. I think your Sydney Uniteds. I think your Marconis. I think they've been calling out for this, and I really want to see them hit those goals and really push the attendances. Of course, there's some small teams. I don't think Broadmeadow are going to be, hitting above 2,000.
Absolute disgrace against the Magic there. The Magic boys,
Yeah,
they're massive up there in Newcastle.
yeah, but
I have no
let's
idea.
be
I have no idea.
realistic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there's bound to
So
be clubs that are pulling smaller crowds. Like Northwest Sydney Spirit, they're going to
yeah,
be pulling,
that's right.
a couple hundred. If they get a couple hundred, that's good. I don't
Yeah, yeah.
imagine they
But
get heaps to their NBL games.
I'd love to see, let's go the conservative side. If we can hit 3,000 as an average over the season, that's very successful. That's like
Yeah,
100% A
yeah.
plus. But I think it probably will be a little smaller than that, but that would be a great achievement.
I think it'll be interesting because like I don't think outside of maybe Preston and at a stretch maybe South Melbourne, not many clubs at the NPL level in any state are really pulling big crowds. Like if you ever go to any New South Wales NPL games, Sydney Olympic particularly, just no one goes to the games. I've been to a few Sydney United games and like it's okay. Like I'm not going to do a South Melbourne mic and have a guess and count how many people are there. You consider where these clubs used to be in the NSL. I'd be thinking they get thousands, but they might only get 300, 400. So it'll be interesting. I think the nostalgia of this, all these clubs getting back together, and the fact that it's also going to be on the SBS, I think there's going to be a good nostalgic vibe around this comp, and I think despite some clubs not pulling many big crowds in the NPL, I think there'll be a lot of more curious eyes that are willing to come along and see how it all goes in the Oz Champs. So I'm
Yeah, and
excited.
I think this is, we're talking about fans, and I know some people hate, using fans as a marker of success, but I think what we can kind of sense from this is, it seems to mean a little bit more. So the NPL and some of these teams, particularly the ones who have been back in the NSL, they really, they're still playing for what they can. They're in the NPL, and so they've got to make do with it. So they're playing for it, but I think the Oz Championship gives them a reason to show up. It gives them,
Mm.
yes, uh, here's a competition, and you can go and claim to be the best team in this second tier in Australia. It's glory. It's on TV, so there's like it feels more legit, and I hope that is matched by fans, these clubs, these communities taking it more seriously than they have the NPL. Because there's something on the line. It feels like this is something significant that we're putting together. And so for that reason, I do hope this is a great start that really is a launch pad.
I think we've covered on the channel with videos in the past about the format of the competition. It's in 16 teams split across four groups. Each group has four teams, and then the top two teams progress to quarters, semis, and then final. Obviously, that's not what the majority of the clubs wanted. They wanted a full home and away season, but we only had eight clubs in the end, the foundation clubs, and after multiple rounds of trying to get more teams, it was still only that. Hitting the hard stuff, hard solo or just normal solo.
Just normal
Oh,
solo.
boring, boring. In the end, we only got the eight foundation clubs, so the only ones that were able to meet Football Australia's criteria. So that's why they've gone with this group stage to be a bit more of a competition that's a bit cheaper than a full home and away season. Um, I guess I've seen a lot of people online saying, "Oh, I don't want to watch this. This is not a proper second division." And I guess in a way, it's probably true. It's not a proper second division. It's not the one we wanted. What do you think of the format? So do you think obviously it's not the perfect one, but what's just your thoughts on the format itself?
Yeah, I think look, it's not the perfect, and yet I think if we were to do that, it would have crashed and burned probably quicker than uh would have been good for the league. I think that Football Australia is putting in so much to try and make this work. They really do want it to work, which is why they've gone this kind of stripped back format. Look, I think it still adds a bit of excitement. You've got these teams coming in at the end of their NPL season, so they're still pretty fresh. Oh, sorry, they're not fresh. They've played a whole season, but uh, they're still match fit. They should, hopefully shouldn't lose too much in the month off between the end of the NPL season and the Oz Championship. I think I love though that they haven't split it in regional kind of groups, and so you have got in Group A a team from New South two teams from New South Wales. You've got a team from Queensland and a team from Victoria, and they're all in together. Football Australia's gonna help that travel happen. And I think that makes it kind of manageable. Yes, it maybe takes away some of the big clashes that we potentially could have seen. Um, Although we hope they kind of come through in the quarterfinals and semi-finals. Um, yeah, I think I like it as a first step. Like I said, it's a step in the right direction, and it's going to be really helpful. Is there the interest? Is there the desire to make this
Yeah.
happen? Um, and I think I like the way they went about it. We had our 8 foundation clubs, and there were jokes thrown around that a bit franchisey. Here's these clubs. Where's the merit? And because we want sporting merit, that's what makes great football, and it is the thing that's lacking from the A League, right? Is that uh, there's no punishment for failure, and so
I don't
and
know.
there's no
You haven't been a Wanderers
reward for
fan.
success.
You haven't been a Wanderers fan for 10 years. I know what 10 years of failure feels like. It does feel
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
punishment. Sorry, go
But
on.
there's so I like that while we've got the foundation clubs and they bring some of these bigger communities that really are pushing this, the decision to let the winners or the best placed teams then in the rest of the state competitions actually join the competition, I think is fantastic. It's provided a way forward, so it makes the MPL actually worth something because you can be rewarded, and so I think there's a really nice progression for the future that then could become maybe the third division that feeds into then fully fledged second division and provides a pathway up into the A League. So I think that's what we have to remember, that you don't just create this infrastructure overnight. I think this league is a good first step if we think, where do we want Australian football and the pyramid to be in 20 years, in 30 years? We want a stable kind of tiered competition where you do have that sporting merit, where somebody can rise through the ranks. I think this is the right step in that direction. So I think still provides some really big matchups. I think we'll talk about, but the fact that SBS and Football Australia have come together to get this on like national TV every Saturday and on demand, yeah, I think that's just awesome. And so it brings that kind of, yeah, it feels like a competition. It really does feel like something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I think it's the best format we could have hoped for in the scenario we're in. I think there are a lot of there were some clubs, particularly Melbourne Knights, who were whinging and complaining. I think they might have changed their tune a bit about the cost of wanting to be in this competition. I think a lot of clubs probably got priced out, but I think it was good that a Football Australia stick with their guns with their expectations of clubs, because I think when the A League came in, we raised the standard of our national league. Um, and it's still a basket case, but that's okay. We have players that can have a full time career playing the sport they love, and they can stay in Australia. And some players are more than happy to do that. And I think lowering the standards, like lowering how much it would cost for a club to enter, or lowering those standards, I think would just take down the standard. I think Football Australia want a second division that is good and that is sustainable, and that they're not willing to compromise on their decisions and their their criteria to join this competition.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I really want is a successful. You know, if it's successful this year, or successful next year, maybe they'll go. The other clubs will be like, yeah, we want to buy into this, and then we can get that second division, like a full time 22, 26 week competition. But we'll just have to
It
wait and
does
see.
raise the question. Uh, we were talking about fan numbers before,
Mm,
but what other metrics? We're talking. We want to see a successful
mm.
competition. What do you think that actually looks like? What marks this as a success come the grand final?
I think crowds would play a part, but I think the big thing today is engagement. People watching it on TV. That's the big drive for money. I mean, that's where the A League got its money for all those years was from Foxtel, the people broadcasting the game, and they walked away from it. You know, there's a lot of controversy around it, but the numbers just weren't there anymore for them. Um, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the TV goes because I think if the TV numbers are really good, you're building a brand, you're building a product, and you can sell that product on. Because I don't think SBS paid anything. I don't know. I'd be surprised if they paid money to have this comp. Um, but if it can be a success, Football Australia can be like, oh, hey, look at these numbers. This has been a successful competition. Any other bidders want to come in?
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
TV will be a big driver of success. And it's good that it's on free to air and everything as well as a few. I think there's a few games on the main channel as well. So that's pretty big. I mean, I don't think SBS has much going on in the middle of the day. It's normally at 3 in the morning. All those nudie French movies. Um, but yeah, I think TV will be the big driver of whether it's a big success from a commercial and financial point of view. But you know, if you can get people through the gates to watch these clubs, they don't normally get many fans of the game. I think that's also a big sign of success as well.
yeah. I think another measure of success would be, yeah, like interest from the media. So,
Yeah.
um, one thing would be no dramas, and I think that's everyone's. I think a lot of people are holding their breath on that. Um, Dramas, just fan dramas
Mm.
particularly. But then it like because if the league can keep away from that and get a newspaper in Australia, get Channel 9, whoever it is,
Yeah.
actually reporting on this and showing interest because people are interested in this. I think that's a success.
Mm.
Like um, drawing the coverage from the mainstream kind of media. And look, I'm not expecting bucket loads. We know as A-League fans that's really hard to get and to come by. But something shows because they only cover what people want to see. And so if that gets picked up by these kind of media corporations, then I think we're onto something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be good. And for the right reasons as well, hopefully. It's because the football's good and people are showing up and there's yeah, good matches. And I think obviously that's the other measure of success is the football good, Do we actually get some exciting football to watch with some storylines? I'd love to see, you know, some young kid, just have an absolute blinder, and sink Sydney United with a screamer. Because at the end of the day, that's why we love football. It's the stories, The game itself, is by the by. But we want to see the stories. We want to see the communities and the character. So yeah, if that gets picked up and noticed by people, I think that's a success.
Yeah. We could even see Bruno Fornaroli maybe even score a hat trick or two at the ripe old age of 38 or 39 or something like that. So there seems like there's a few ex-Western United guys who've also gone to South Melbourne. Well, there might be the young guys. There's actually quite a good crop of A-League talent as well. You're muted. Oh, yeah, you're unmuted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that would be really good to as well. That's it's part of what a second division brings, right? Is then you get this level of players who aren't quite ready for the top league, and you get players who are kind of falling off the edge from the you know, Bruno Fornaroli, he's not quite at the A League level anymore. Yeah, and I think he's getting old. He's quite old for an A League player. So the fact that then there's still a division, that's what a second division's all for. You get the young kids with the experience, and that creates more playing pathways. So cool to see some ex-A-League players in there as well.
We spoke a bit about the TV deal got announced today, at least today when we're filming this, and obviously that'll be pretty good. But I guess one thing I want to ask about is, or talk about, is the future of this competition. There were some rumors on Twitter a couple of months ago about how this guy, I think he commentates for NPL Victoria, said, exclusive, the Australian Champs is only going to last 2 seasons. Once that's it, FA is going to pull the pin. Whether that's true or not, I guess we'll find out in 2 years' time. But what do you think of the future of this competition? Because right now, it's just, to me, it seems like I know they're trying to work towards a second division, but without promotion and relegation, it seems like just a glorified NPL Super League or something like that. Or to take one out of the leaf of someone on Twitter, it's NPL on planes or something like that. Um, like, what do you think the future of this comp is? Like, what is the future? I mean, I don't. The FA has never come out and said by 2030 we're going to have one spot up for promotion into the A League. Like there's been no talk. I mean, like I think this comp can be a success for a year or two, but eventually get to a point when what are we doing this for? What are we trying to achieve here? Are we just trying to compete with the A League? Because I don't actually think they are. Are they trying to get into promoted into the A League? Like what's going on?
Yeah, that's it. I think there has to be a future vision, and maybe now is too early to actually for the FA to be saying those things because they need to make sure this works. If this doesn't work, then of course there's no future for a second division. If no one turns up, if no one cares about this, this is their shot to show
Mm,
that people care and that there's a need. So, this maybe 1, 2, max 3 seasons at this kind of level, showing that teams are now upping their involvement in the MPL so that they can get into this competition. Your foundation clubs are now starting to invest and strengthen so that next season looks better. Those signs will then, I think, hopefully push us towards, okay, now it's time to expand it and maybe push it into a fully fledged kind of home and away season. I think that has to be kind of the next step. But as well, then you're right. You need to look at it's not just a competition that's trying to level with the A League, but a stepping stone to the A League. So I think the A League and this competition have to work together to make a connection. And I think part of that is, look, I think the A League's really got one more expansion team left in it at this stage. And then I think they need to open up to the potential of, or maybe then the next two like top teams in the Oz Championship actually get promoted and we bump the numbers, of the A League up to 16. If we could get to a 16 team competition and you've got a 16 team second division, and then let's go for it. Just one up, one down, or 1.5 spots, with a playoff. I think that has to be the pathway if it's successful. A lot relies on this first season, these next couple of seasons at this format going well to create then a pathway. And then what you do is, I think something like the Japanese model where they have every team in their 3 divisions is licensed to the structure. And so you're trying to build clubs up so that they go, okay, we're semi-pro to almost full-time professional, and we've got the 2 leagues, and that's our license. And then you can slowly build licenses into that and have a third division kind of thing.
yeah,
I think that's the way. Obviously, it's difficult. The finances have to be there. But I like that as a model
yeah,
to then license teams, no more franchises, or if you want to be a franchise, well, you've got to work your way into getting a license, then from the bottom to work your way up. So I think that's the future, but I think it is a bit pie in the sky at the moment when not one ball has been kicked for
mm,
the Australian Championship, and we really actually have to just keep your feet on the ground, pull the head out of the clouds, and make sure
yeah.
this one goes well. Which means we've got to support it, we've got to cover it. yeah, get people talking about the Oz Championship.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing we can do if we want this competition to be a success. And I don't see any reason why a football fan in Australia wouldn't want this to be a success. I think the best thing we can do is get to a game if you can, watch it on TV, and just engage with it because I think this could be a new era in Australian football. And I think it could be a really good one, but it depends on the fans in this country within these old ethnic clubs whether they want to be a part of it. And I think if they embrace it, I think it can be a real success. And it's really down to us. All the stepping stones are in place. Competition's been set up. It's on TV. I think it's been some perfect kickoff times. In that nice spring time, 3 o'clock, getting down to a game and have a few drinks and chivapis. I think it's. I think everything's all the pieces have been put in the right position. It's up to us, the fans, to get around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. I think that's everything I want to chat about this round, champ. Unless there's anything else you want to chat about it.
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to seeing Australian champions. It's Australian Championship Couch Critics launch their YouTube channel and go toe to toe with us.
The
Um,
ACCC, the Australian Championship Couch Critics. I'm pretty sure that's a government thing, the ACCC though. So that might be already trademarked.
we better trademark it and get that YouTube channel sorted before we get some competitors. But no, it's yeah,
The
I
Australian
think
Competition
that's
and Consumer Commission. Yeah, I think it's been taken. Oh well, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, looking forward to watching it kick off and going along to a game with you maybe. I think if people are keen and want to see us get along to an Oz Championship match and document our experience like we did with a couple of A-League games as well last season, yeah, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get around a vlog or two for the Oz Champ. I think it'll be pretty awesome stuff. Yeah, let us know in the comments what games you're going to be going to, which club you're going to support, and who's going to win the whole damn thing. I think Heidelberg's going to be pretty hot. It's pretty easy to say Heidelberg because of how well they've actually been playing in NPL Victoria and the Australia Cup. But who
My
knows?
money is going to be on South Hobart. They're gonna stun
Oh,
everybody.
how good! And then they get promoted into the A League.
Beautiful.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks if you've been watching this far along. Make sure you subscribe. We're trying to get to 4,000 subs by the end of the year. Might be a bit tricky. We've got about 400 to go, but we can do it, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit more history video.
Yeah. All right. I'll see what I can do. Cheers.